What's up, pals, and welcome back to the Passion Project. This week's gonna be a little different because I wanted to share this really great interview that I did with my friend Trey Gonsalez from the All Sports Best podcast. So I was actually the one being interviewed in this episode, but he posted it to his, and I asked him if, I could share it with my audience as well, because I thought it could help you guys out. We talk all about my athletic career, how it plays into my professional success, a little bit more on how I took off on TikTok as well. He's on TikTok too, so we both kind of had that in common. Trusting the process, self-discipline, decision-making, all the things. It's a really great interview, and I thought you guys could get a lot out of it, so I decided to share it on here. Definitely check out Trey's podcast, especially if you're into sports, and I'll link all of his socials in the show notes. So without further ado, let's jump in.
Hello everybody and welcome to All Sports Best, the podcast. My name's Trey Gonsalez, and today I have a very special guest. She is a former athlete. She is a current TikTok star, a verified YouTuber, and much, much more than that. Her name is Hallee Smith, and I'm very glad to have you on the show. Hallee, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, besides having a little bit of a stuffy nose. Hopefully that's not too distracting. But yeah, that was a great intro. Thanks, Trey. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So to give a background to those of you that are listening, Hallee and I met on Clubhouse, I believe was the app. I haven't been on it in so long.
Me either. I deleted it off my phone.
Exactly. So did I, because that's why I didn't know what it was called again, because I was looking back and I don't have it anymore. But Clubhouse is like a way to connect via audio, and so you get into these rooms and talk. Now they have them on Twitter and different places, but yeah. So I saw a TikTok room, dove into that. Hallee was in it. A couple of other people that I was able to meet were on it, and just kind of were able to connect and learn from each other. I learned a lot more from her than she had from me, but it was just cool to connect there. And then we had a collaboration on a video, and so anyways, that's how we know.
That was a fun collab.
It was pretty cool. So that was when you were in Ohio. Now you live in Florida.
Yes.
So,
I'm in Florida now.
Yeah, so can you tell me about that move and maybe what went into that and how that was?
Yeah, so I have always had in the back of my mind that I wanted to live in Florida just because I wanted to be somewhere where there was warm year-round. I'm not the biggest fan of winter. And now, too, with content creation, it got tricky to come up with content ideas in the winter when you're limited to indoor spaces. Mm-hmm. I mean, unless you're going to freeze your hands off trying to record outside.
No kidding.
Right? But so that was a big driver behind it. My parents have a place in Sarasota, which is about an hour from where I'm at now. So I was down here visiting a lot, especially in the winter. And I was like, you know what? Why don't I move here? I saw an opportunity. My lease was up. I didn't really have anything tying me to Ohio because everything I do is remote, being a content creator. And so I took that opportunity. I found an apartment in St. Petersburg. And yeah, that's where I'm at now. I'm loving it so far. It's definitely been an adjustment. Like I said, the stuffiness is because I'm adjusting to the allergies here.
Oh, yeah.
But we're getting there.
So you're already a full-on local. You just called it St. Pete. Sounds like a nickname that, you've been there for a while.
I think it's a pretty typical abbreviation. It's right outside of Tampa, St. Petersburg. Mm-hmm. And I think, Petersburg is just kind of long.
Yeah, no, I got you. Okay, so Hallee, I want to talk about your athletic self, the sports playing Hallee Smith that a lot of people don't know about. Could you tell me a little bit about her and maybe the sports that you played, the type of player that you were, etc.?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Sports were a huge, huge part of my life. That was my thing. When I was younger, I did dance, and then around middle school, I decided to commit to sports. And so from there, sports was my life, my whole life. I did soccer when I was younger while I was doing dance. And then once I decided to commit to sports, I was doing basketball. Basketball was my main one, and then track. But I also did volleyball for a couple years, and I did try cross country one year. Distance was not my favorite.
Sure.
I was a sprinter. But I honestly feel like growing up in sports and the mindset that being on a team and all the things you have to overcome as an athlete has so much contributed to what I do today. And I feel like a lot of the mindsets I developed as an athlete still hold me accountable to things that I do, daily now.
Yeah. So it's kind of a discipline thing for you more than anything?
Discipline, and this was actually, I've only been published one time, but the article ironically was about how my sports life ties into what I do now. And I think the discipline of it, and then also the pushing the comfort zones, because especially in track with these really difficult workouts, it was all about pushing your comfort zone and getting comfortable being uncomfortable is what my one coach said to me that really inspired me. It still holds true today. So whenever I feel like I'm stuck, whether it's creatively or, trying to figure out what that next brand deal is going to be or how I'm going to make, come up with my next project, it all comes down to I need to take a step out of my comfort zone when I'm feeling stuck.
Yeah.
And take another step to feel comfortable feeling uncomfortable, because as you keep going up that ladder, you get comfortable with that previous step you took, and then it's time to take another one.
Absolutely. You have amassed over 1.2 million TikTok followers, over 450,000 YouTube subscribers. You've been very successful on social media, and obviously that's kind of a segue into being able to do content full time, right? This is your job. This is what you do, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So with that being said, how would you say, like, a lot of people that watch your videos, a lot of people that just kind of either relate to you or just enjoy your content altogether can see that little bit of, I guess, vulnerability that, not a lot of people really think about when they think of, she keeps growing. You have to kind of put yourself out there, and sometimes videos don't do as well, or they blow up and do really well. But there's that mindset of, I have to be uncomfortable also.
Yes. And it also boils down to falling in love with the process instead of the end goal. For a while, especially like when I was blowing up on TikTok, the videos were just almost guaranteed to get hundreds of thousands or millions of views. And so at that time, I got used to that. But that was the wave of TikTok. That's just how it was. People were blowing up. TikTok was pushing creators. There weren't as many people on the platform. And so when I started to hit this lull of my videos getting less views slowly, there being more and more competition on TikTok, I was constantly beating myself up about how, what am I doing wrong? Why are my videos not performing well? And I realized I was so focused on the end goal that it was making me hate what I was doing. And so I kind of went through this process, and it's something I still have to practice. And again, I think this ties into sports too, like falling in love with the process of the workouts and what you have to do to get to that end goal, what gets you on the podium, what gets you to the state championship, whatever it may be.
Sure.
I feel like I lost the train of thought I was exactly on, but just making sure you're falling in love with that process and not hating it because you're only envisioning this big shiny goal. You don't know what's going to happen, and you can't always control the outcome, but you can control the work you're putting in.
Sure. My wife and I started doing TikTok, I want to say it was about 2.5 years ago. And
probably about the same time I started.
Yeah. I mean, obviously a lot different numbers. You're doing a lot.
No, you guys
more.
are crushing it too, though. Don't sell yourself short.
Thank you. But I think that there's a little bit of a difference between us and yourself. And I wanted to kind of talk about that little bit of a change, I guess. Whenever we are really busy with just our everyday lives, or just ideas aren't coming to us, we just kind of take breaks. And I hate to say it because I know that everybody says post every day, keep going, keep going, keep going. And sometimes we're just like, you know, we're exhausted, we can't. But you're a full-time creator. You don't get that kind of chance, or do you ever take breaks?
I used to not. So, and it was detrimental. Like I said, I talked about this in my first podcast episode because I actually just started a podcast called The Passion Project.
The Passion Project. Plug it. Tell us where.
Yes, plug it. The Passion Project. The Passion Project with Hallee Smith. There were actually a bunch of other Passion Project podcasts, but you know, this was a name that was important to me because I did this on YouTube a while ago. That's a whole nother story for another day. But you can find it on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and also on YouTube. There's a video version.
Perfect.
But anyways, where was I going with that?
Talking about breaks and just being able to kind of take mental breaks.
Yes. What I talked about on that first episode was when I hit my point of total burnout, I was literally going 24/7. And to be honest with you, Clubhouse made it worse because everybody on Clubhouse, you remember, was hustle, hustle, hustle. You should be on Clubhouse 24/7. You should be posting 5 times a day. And I was just driving myself insane. Like, I was in a constant state of fight or flight. And it eventually led to me having a panic attack, which was like something I'd never experienced before. I didn't know what it was in the moment. Like, I just thought I was dying. And then it was pretty scary. But after that, I was like, okay, something's got to change. Number one, my physical health is at jeopardy right now, let alone my mental health is clearly not in a good place. So when I hit that point, I was like, okay, I need to fall back in love with the process. I need to stop, you know, driving myself into the ground. And because it's, you know, as a creator, if I'm not okay, I can't create content. Right. So I don't think I took a break right after that, actually.
You're like, you know what? I started
thinking I do need to take breaks. And now I've actually scaled back to posting 4 to 5 times a week. Okay. Because that allows me to have those breaks. And it allows me to focus on other things like the podcast, like, you know, any other business ventures. And it gives me time to think. My dad actually brought to my attention that I think he could tell that I was just doing. And I was just putting things on my plate and I wasn't thinking. He was like, just take a step back. He's like, I forget what the exact percentage, but he was like, more of your week needs to be dedicated to thinking than doing so that the things you're doing are actually moving the needle and getting stuff done for you. So, you know, that's kind of how I started to avoid driving myself into the ground because I don't want to be doing things that are just doing, you know, like they're not actually doing anything and it's just making me feel productive.
Yeah. Do you use, I mean, this is a big tool that a lot of people talk about in terms of kind of like using thoughts and helping drive where your actions go. Do you use lists or agendas or calendars to help you kind of go, okay, this is what my day is going to look like, so I'm more comfortable with it?
Yes, I live by my calendar, so I put everything in it. And like I said, I can get kind of scatterbrained if I don't. So the littlest things, if I'm going to hang out with my friend, I put it in my calendar. Or if I want to reach out to somebody on their birthday, I put it on my calendars, just so I don't forget, because I know I look at it every day, and I know it's a reliable place for me. So I pretty much block out my days, and I've noticed that I go in this cycle where I do start to fall back into that pattern of just making myself busy. And so I always have to kind of take this step back and be like, what are my top 3 to 5 things I'm going to get done this day, instead of just being task. Yeah. And it makes me feel more productive those days that I'm really successful with it, just because not even productive, more grounded, and like I've actually made, you know, taken a significant step in like towards my goals when I can dial in and do less, but it's more focused action.
Do you block off like, I'm going to relax right here? or, this is where I'm going to head to the beach now or whatever?
I should. Those are where I I should plan that in,
Mm-hmm.
because it would probably make me take more uh strategic breaks, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I don't do that right now. I mean, kind of. If I'm like, hey, I'm taking this day off, I just put block the day off. But yeah, I probably could get more specific with that.
So you're your own boss, right? So you can say, I'm taking a 3-day, I'm
Yes.
taking a 4-day weekend.
Right. Yeah. Which I almost feel like sometimes is harder, because then I feel when someone else is your boss, you're accountable to them, and it's like almost on them if the things don't get done. So then when you're when you're your own boss, I'm constantly, well, I'm working on getting better at it, but I'm thinking like, what could have I been doing right now? Like,
Mm-hmm.
am I getting behind by taking this break? So there's that extra layer of having to get yourself to relax when you are taking those breaks. So it's an actual break and not just a thinking about everything break.
Yeah. So when you go from, which actually I haven't even asked you this, what did you do as your job before you became a full-time creator, or was that kind of something that just started right out of college?
hmm It kind of started right out of college. So I graduated in December 2019, and I had been doing freelance graphic design because my degree was in marketing and graphic design.
Mm.
So a couple of the internships and people I'd worked with and people I'd met just from networking in college had become freelance clients. And when I graduated, there were no corporate jobs that interested me. And so I was like, well, I guess I can just keep freelancing. It was enough to get me by at the time. But then when the pandemic hit, that pretty much went to crap. There was no more clients that wanted to pay for, extra help when they're like, what's happening in the world?
Wow. Yeah.
So I was kind of at a point where I was like, what am I going to do next? Like, do I get a corporate job? Do I don't know, keep freelancing, trying to find more clients? And that's actually when I started posting consistently on YouTube. I was posting YouTube videos. Like I said, the Passion Project is what I called them. And that's why I wanted to name my podcast The Passion Project.
Mm. It's
It's
close to
essentially
your
the same
heart.
concept. Yeah, yeah. And I looked back on those videos after blowing up, after my accounts blew up, and I was like, that was such a cool concept. And really what it was uh, taking people on a mission with me where we're like learning, growing together, and figuring out, how can you pursue your passion project and make it be in alignment with your life and figure out what you actually want to do. Because I didn't know what I wanted to do at the time. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how that started. And then from there, I decided to start my own business, Hallee Media and Design LLC, which was where once I started that, I was just taking any creative project I could get, whether it was photography, social media management, content creation for businesses. And in the midst of that is when my account took off.
Mm.
So I guess you could say I've always been a full-time content creator, but I didn't really know I was a content creator. I just thought I was a freelancer.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that's really, like, I don't think you had to really, I mean, I don't know, you can tell me, explain to your family, like, hey, I'm going to stop my job and I'm going to do this. Like, a lot of people have the problem with that, just like having to explain to their family. So how does your family factor into the support system that you have now and maybe had when you were transitioning from college?
Yeah, so they've always been super supportive. There was a period where when I was first blowing up, I wasn't really aligned. I was working with people that really didn't align with who I was, and so as a result, you're the sum of the 5 people you spend most of your time with. I wasn't being myself, and so in that time, they kind of pulled away, and I felt like they weren't supporting me. And in hindsight, it was my own fault. But in the moment, I was just like, oh, they're just not supporting me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I know why now. I don't blame them, honestly. So ever since I started, being myself more, showing up as I would, they're so, so supportive. And I'm lucky because my dad's an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship runs in my family, so they get it. And they know the struggles of being an entrepreneur. It's not like they're like, oh, come on, you're gonna like go broke. They get that you have to kind of take that risk.
Yeah.
If you want to go that route. So yeah, they're so supportive now. They're always cheering on my brand deals. I think my dad watches every video I post.
That's awesome.
So it's really, yeah, I love it. I couldn't do it without their support for sure.
It's a big deal for sure. I wanted to kind of go into some of your concepts for your videos. You have some really cool concepts. There's a lot of content creators out there that post and post and post. And sometimes it's like, well, this video is okay or whatever. I feel like your videos, they have a theme to them. They're always really well lit. It's appealing to, visually appealing. Just, I guess the way that you video them, the places that you go have a lot of color to them. And you use colors as a concept as well, right? You do correlating your outfits to food and drinks and smoothies and all of that stuff. Where did that come from?
Well, I feel like I've always been a very colorful person, I guess you'd say. Like, I've always just loved colors and, like, all kinds of stuff. So I think that, honestly, just being myself and doing, like, following my intuition on what I want to be creating just attracts those things because it's naturally what I'm attracted to, what I like to do, what catches my attention. But I always intentionally try to add in a challenge or something that's going to keep people wanting to be engaged. It's almost the element of surprise in my videos.
Yeah.
I noticed that with the name spelling videos, like going to Starbucks and Dunkin' until they can spell my name right, it's always the element of not knowing how the video is going to end. I think that keeps people watching. And so being able to carry that concept over into outfit inspired drinks, doing the farmers market one color challenges. I think it adds an element of entertainment to lifestyle content. So sometimes when people ask me like, what kind of content do you do? I'm like, I call it entertainment lifestyle because it's a mix of the two. Like, I wouldn't say it's straight lifestyle where I'm like, okay, buy this food, do this. I'm just like kind of trying to entertain you while showing you what I'm doing.
Yeah, make your life fun. And I've heard this thing, and I think it's something along the lines of like, make your life a drama, or what is it? It's like, dang it, I forget what it's called, but basically where everything in your life, you romanticize it, right? So where
romanticizing your life.
So I feel like that's kind of like, if I were to just meet you in person, I'd feel like I was in a video. That's kind of what your videos make me, you know what I mean? That's what your videos make your followers think. Okay, yeah, I love that. It's funny because a lot of times when people meet me in person, they're like, you're so much quieter than I thought from your videos. I honestly am pretty quiet, but like I bring out that brighter, louder, more energized side of me in my videos. Like, that's still me. I'm just, sometimes I'm quiet. You're charging up for the videos.
Right, exactly. I'm charging. We all have to charge.
Yeah, exactly. I like that you said that you like to keep people wondering. I feel like that's a huge part of, I guess, if you were to give, or maybe a piece of advice to people listening that go, I want to kind of do content creation and stuff like that. It's not just, this was funny or this was really cool, but it's also like, how do you keep people from knowing the end result right away? And that probably also factors into your captions too, because I see your on-screen titles and your captions, they always kind of, they don't ever give anything away other than, oh, these are the colors we're using today. It's always like, you don't know the end result yet. Yeah, so I kind of struggled with that at first because a lot of times, I love a mix of uncertainty and planning. Like I said, I plan to stay organized, but I honestly am like an adventurous person, so I don't like to know like this perfectly set out plan for the future. So I found myself trying to overplan my videos, but then I realized I had to tap into that side of myself that's just like, experience what happened, like plan a little bit before. Like, I know the concept, I know I'm going to do only one color, but then go do the video, let whatever happens happen. You don't know what's going to happen, just let it happen, capture it,
and then come back and figure out how does this storyline play into what I was originally going for?
Mm-hmm.
So the biggest piece of advice I would say is it all boils down to crafting a story, and like we were talking about, that element of uncertainty. So what's going to keep people watching to the end?
Yeah.
Everybody's content's different. Not everyone's going to have this big reveal at the end. I don't know. I don't even know if I do that. But if you have a story, it's going to keep people watching because they want to know what happens next, like anything.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I agree. I want to know, because I'm actually drinking. I don't ever really drink coffee, but I'm drinking coffee for this podcast specifically.
Did I inspire you to drink coffee?
You inspired me, number one, and number two, KK made it for me this morning, so I was like, of course I'm gonna drink it.
Yes.
Yeah, so it was a mixture.
Of course you have to. KK made it.
Exactly. So I want to know, how many coffee shops have you been to? And before you answer that, a backstory for the people that are listening. If you haven't seen Hallee's videos, a lot of her video concepts come from, like we talked about, uncertainty. And one of those is baristas guessing how to spell her name on the drinks. And everybody, even if your name is John, you've probably had somebody misspell your name in coffee shops. But yeah, how many coffee shops have you been to? Not just recording, but also just in life. I'd have to say it'd have to be a pretty big number.
Yeah, that's a great question. I wish I tracked it. But if I were to backtrack a little, when I did video-wise, I know I went to 18 through my Guessing How to Spell My Name series, just Starbucks and Dunkin'. And then I did it again in a long-form video where I went to 18 in one day. That was intense.
Dang.
And then, honestly, I work, like, in terms of not the ones that I don't record, I go to coffee shops to work a lot of times because being self-employed, working from home, it can get like lonely, and I'm not motivated when I'm by myself. So sometimes just being in an environment where there's people just around you helps me stay focused and motivated.
Wow. I think that's a really good piece of advice too.
I honestly don't think I can give you a number, but you can imagine it's a lot.
Yeah. So I know you said you went long form for the 18 coffee shops. I've seen you do a lot of different things. I always see your hands, both of them. So who is your videographer, or is it just a mixture of different people?
It's a big mixture.
Okay.
A lot of times I had to get good at filming some on my own, because sometimes I do film them myself. Like, I just flip back and forth. I'll do the front camera. I'll say something, quickly flip it, record what's happening. And when I edit, I kind of overlay them a little bit. But a lot of times what I do is I'll collab with other creators. That's the best way to do it, because I don't necessarily have the budget right now to hire a full-time videographer. Although I have for paid deals before, just hired a videographer to get some really good shots.
Yeah.
But usually I'll collab with another creator. I film for them, they film for me, and we're good to go.
Would you ever be...
Or a friend.
Okay, yeah. Would you ever be interested in the side hustle or full-time gig of narration? I noticed that a lot of your videos now have yourself narrating. It's like post-production narrations. Would you be interested in that? Is that something that you really enjoy, or something that came from necessity?
You know, I've never really thought about that. I do enjoy, actually, ironically, with starting the podcast and everything, my big I don't know, goal, I guess, of 2022 has been to get over the fear of using my voice, which I think that all boils down to that. Like, it can come with singing and talking on a podcast, sharing your opinions. I think that it's really powerful, like your voice. Like, I feel like I'm the most confident when I talk and I'm not quiet. Okay. So I don't know necessarily if it's something I would want to do full time, but I do enjoy adding the voiceovers to my podcasts or podcast videos. So I would say I would like it. Being multi-passionate, I feel like I could like anything, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I just think it's funny because if you watch a movie and you're just enjoying the movie, or you're just enjoying a video. When people are thinking and you hear their voice, you just think, okay, they're thinking, but you don't think about, well, they had to record all of this. They had to come up with the concept, write it, all of that stuff. And then they had to go in and make sure that those pauses were long enough for them to put this, you have to plan that out. It's a full production sometimes.
Yeah, and one of the interesting things I've learned, like I've talked to a couple voice actors randomly here and there. There's so much that goes into your voice. It's insane. Like, and I notice it in my videos. A lot of times when I'm just talking normal, my voice is a little deeper. But when I record my podcast, or I keep saying podcast, when I record my voiceovers, it's just in my head. When I record my voiceovers, I talk faster, and a lot of times it comes out as a more high-pitched voice. So I'll be like, I'm trying to think of one. I woke up and realized that I just talk higher, like upbeat.
Yeah.
And I noticed that there's all these different inflections that you can put in your voice, and it makes the vibe of the video different. It's so cool. Like you can go so deep into it, but it's interesting.
Yeah, that's a rabbit hole for sure. You'll have to explain it all on your podcast.
Yeah, I should.
That's an episode I'm looking forward to for sure.
Okay, voice acting. I'll do a little more research.
All right, so Hallee, I've seen a few things. Dunkin' Donuts like rewarded you for all that you did. Basically, come on, you've got so many followers that obviously, you're exposing them. Even though even if it was natural or organic, eventually it does kind of turn into in a sense like some type of advertising for them. And then they sent you a care package. And I'm not sure, if there was a brand deal included in that, but I kind of wanted to talk about brand deals and all that stuff. What are some of the cooler things that you've received in terms of maybe gifts or just kind of like packages from brands?
Dunkin', that was a pretty cool package to get. I actually never had a paid deal with them. There was actually a little bit of, I don't want to say drama, but they stole my content one time and didn't even credit me. So I kind of reached out to them like copyright concern, and they were just like kind of blew me off and didn't even care. So yeah, that was a little annoying, but I really appreciated the package. It was so cool. And that was actually, the video I made with that was my most viral video ever. It was like a balloon. For anyone that doesn't know or hasn't seen the video, they sent me this box. Well, they actually sent me two things. The first one was a shirt that said Hallee runs on Dunkin'. And then the second one was to promote their popping boba. And so they sent me a box with a balloon in it, and the balloon had confetti and a note in it that said "Poppin' is droppin'."
Wow.
So that was cool, unboxing the balloon and popping it and like telling like everyone, again, the element of surprise. No one knew it was in the box. I didn't even know it was in the box.
Yeah,
so I actually really cool. lived that excitement out myself and captured it. I'm trying to think of what are some other cool things I've gotten. I don't know. I just
bars and stuff like that, right? Like protein bars.
Yeah, there was a brand. They're actually local to Cleveland called Wodo. I worked with them on more of a consistent basis, but they're cookie dough bars. They're vegan. They're so good. Okay. Not even that they're vegan. Like I'm not vegan, but the cookie dough bars are so good, and they're relatively, they're better for you than like a candy bar. And if you have a sweet tooth like me, it was perfect.
So would you be willing to dive into a little bit more, I guess? I don't know if the Dunkin' Donuts drama, I guess. I mean, so when you make a video, it's to not necessarily benefit you, but it goes on your page. And if somebody wants to use it, they typically reach out and say, hey, we would like to use this. Do you give us permission? Or what would it take? And that kind of thing. And I'm sure you've dealt with that tons and tons. They never reached out.
No, the crazy, actually the thing that made it worse was that they had reached out after the first care package about doing an official partnership where I could get paid. So I was like really excited about it, and I was really, really trying and like pushing like the Dunkin' content and putting so much effort into the videos. And I think they saw that, like they clearly liked my content, that they took it and used it on their own page. And so I thought we were we were on good terms. And so when I saw that they used the video without tagging me or even telling me, I found it like a month and a half after they did it.
Oh.
So I was like, oh, nice. But
Thanks.
yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. It was kind of it was a compilation of all of the creators they sent the popping boba box to.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of their argument. They're like, oh, it wasn't even the full video, like blah blah. And I'm like, I get that, but it's still not a good move on your part. Like that wasn't good.
Right.
You
No,
kinda,
absolutely.
like not even to me, but like to the other creators. I looked up all their pages, and it didn't look like they got paid deals with them either.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's whatever, but I tried not to hold it against Duncan because it's such a big brand. I think it was just the social media team that was on that project just didn't handle it the best.
Yeah, there's so many like moving parts in a big company like that it's like I get what you're saying. It's hard to blame the whole company, but yeah, it stinks when
I wanted to at first. I was like, no more Duncan videos ever again.
You're gonna call them out on your videos and make it
right,
bigger.
like drama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you have more loyalty to other coffee shops now, or is it kind of just like, okay, I get it, it's okay?
Especially around that time, I kind of realized, how can I start incorporating local places? Because the big one, like Starbucks, Dunkin', it's great. It's going to get you a lot of views, but they get so many views. Like, how can I translate some of those views to more local places, more local coffee shops, local food? And that's kind of where I saw a big opportunity with the Drinks Inspired by My Outfit video, because that concept of uncertainty, it can bring those higher views. Like, it can reach a wider audience. You don't have to know the coffee shop, but it still gets the video out there and showcases the smaller places.
Yeah, no doubt.
And so I think that's been pretty cool. I actually did one where this new series I've been testing out, like letting strangers pick where I eat.
Mm-hmm.
I did it at this grilled cheese shop, and they DM'd me on Instagram, and they're like, oh my gosh, we're getting hits left and right, I think, like from your video potentially, like thank you so much. Because I post, I just made the video, and I usually post it to Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, and the YouTube one's at probably 450,000 views right now.
Wow.
So it's really cool to hear that those videos are having an impact for those brands. And it also, I think, helps obviously with brand deals, because like, look, it actually does make a difference.
Yeah, because I mean, you can pay somebody to do something and they do it like without authenticity, and it just doesn't do very well, and you just kind of wasted your money. Yeah, so they know when they go to you that it's going to actually be effective. That's really cool. Yeah,
that's really the hardest thing with brand deals, is because I could get an offer that's for a lot of money, but I'm like, what is this brand? Like, I would never use this. And so it's being full-time and like relying on that income. It's really hard sometimes to turn those down, because I'm like, I like need the money, but just I can't like, that wouldn't be true to my brand, and like I wouldn't want to create the content. I wouldn't be excited about it. So it just wouldn't be the same vibe.
Yeah, being selective is pretty important. It really is, because if somebody's watching your video and going, wait, what? This doesn't really go with it. I thought that it was really cool, like you said, the Wodo videos, because it really did go with what you do. You like sweets. You like to try things out. You were baking them. And so that was really cool, because it didn't feel... I mean, you can go down into the caption and see that it maybe said ad or sponsored or something like that, but you almost watch it's so rare to watch the whole video and then realize it was an ad, because typically it's like very obvious from the get-go. Yours never felt like that. Right.
Yeah, the cool thing with Wodo was that they were really laid back about how I created the content. They were literally just like, make whatever you want. Because a lot of brands will say, don't have any logos in there, which is fine. I get every campaign's different. But for this, I was able to do the Starbucks videos and incorporate Wodo. Or I was able to do a Target skit, but incorporate Wodo.
Yeah.
Because they didn't care if Target was in there, because they knew that name was what was going to get the video views and get their product in front of more people.
Sure. No, that makes a lot of sense. All right, Hallee, I wanted to, before we go, I got a couple more questions for you. One of which is, one more time, where can we find your podcast? What's it called for the listeners? And when can we expect these episodes to drop each week?
Yeah, so my podcast is called The Passion Project with Hallee Smith. My name's spelled Hallee. As you heard, the name spelling is always an issue. But it's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. There's a video version. So you can find it by going to The Passion Project, or just by finding me on any social platforms. It'll be linked everywhere. I'm going to be talking about it all the time. My handle everywhere is at Hallee, HALLEE_Smith. And yeah, like I said, I'll be talking about the podcast and anything else I have going on in the future.
Perfect. Hallee, do you ever get worried that somebody's going to that baristas are just going to start spelling your name correctly from now on because they see your videos so much?
Well, so I actually kind of laid the Starbucks and Dunkin' series to rest, if you will, with when I did the long form version. I went to 18 in one day. And actually the craziest part about it, I'm going to give you guys a spoiler of the video, is the very last place I went, and I swear this was not staged. I was like, everyone's going to think this is staged. The last place I went actually guessed my name right.
Oh.
Like the first time ever. Because I did videos where they guessed it right because I wanted them to, and so I gave them a hint. But this was the very first time in this long form video that they actually spelled it right without a hint. And as far as I know, I don't think she knew who I was.
Wow.
So now sometimes, as just a little side joke to the people that get it, in my other videos I'll put, oh my gosh, look, they spelled my name right, or like, oh, they spelled my name wrong. Like I think in a
it's still tied back. It's like a stand-up comedian bringing it full circle. You're doing that in a subtle way. Easter eggs.
Yeah, it's like the inside joke with the people who have been around, and it almost makes people want to go back and watch those videos so that they get it.
That's so cool. All right, so my last question for you is, if you could tell yourself something 5 years ago, what would it be? Something that you maybe know now or experienced or just have grown from. What would you tell yourself 5 years ago?
Ooh, that is a really good question. I would tell myself to just trust myself and to follow my intuition. I'll say three things: trust myself, follow my intuition, and just deep breaths. It's all going to be okay. Because I've always been someone who's like perfectionist, go, got it. Everything has to be perfect. And I think in a lot of ways it's contributed to success, but it's also contributed to a lot of stress. So just taking that deep breaths, trusting the process, and trusting myself.
Do you think that 5 years ago you would have heard that and taken that advice?
I think, that was a good question.
Go for
I
it.
think I would have tried to. I've noticed a lot of times you'll hear advice and you're like, yeah, that's good advice. I want to do that, but like, how can I actually live that advice? So I think I would have heard it and taken it into consideration, but I think it still would have taken me time to actually do it.
Makes sense. Awesome. Hallee Smith, ladies and gentlemen. Hallee, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really do appreciate it. I look forward to listening to your podcast as it progresses. Everybody that's listening, I encourage you to do the same. Hallee, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Trey, for having me on. This was a great conversation. Everybody listening, I hope you enjoyed it.
All right, I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I enjoyed being on Trey's podcast. As always, if you enjoyed it, be sure to share it with someone you think it could help, or even share it on social media and tag us at with WITH Hallee, HALLEE. And if you're feeling extra inspired, give us a rating and review. It would mean the world to me and help our podcast community grow. And like I said in the beginning, definitely check out Trey's podcast. It's called All Sports Best. and all of his social links and stuff like that to check him out are in the show notes. So thank you so much for being here, and I'll catch you next time. Peace out, pals.